My name is Roger Seiders. I'd like to show you how we use our 5-minute and Rod Builders epoxy glue. To do that, we're going to glue up a little rod handle, so let's get started. First, you need to gather up all the supplies you're going to need. You don't want to be running after paper towels while your glue is setting up. Okay, I'm going to be building a little ultralight spinning handle here, and I always cut my reel seat to length. It makes it more comfortable when you're using the rod, where it just barely accepts my reel. I do that with a chop saw. I've got 4 cork rings for the rear grip, 2 cork rings for the foregrip. Now it's time to mix up our epoxy for gluing this grip. I'm going to use 5-minute epoxy for this grip because I just can get all this done in a couple of minutes. I squirt out 2 equal diameter but separate pools of epoxy, a little bit bigger than a quarter. Then I mix the fire out of them with a popsicle stick. Whip bubbles into it. You don't mix it like finish. You just whip it up as best you can. I use a screwdriver to roll that reel seat arbor in the epoxy, and I slide it up into that reel seat, and I'll use the screwdriver to countersink that reel seat arbor in there about an 1/8 inch. I'd like it to be about an 1/8 inch on each end. And clean it up good. You got time to do that. Notice I mix up on a glossy catalog. You can throw a page away after you get it. After you mix it up on that page. I've got a bunch of glossy catalogs sitting around my shop. Okay, I always like to slide that first cork ring on from the butt so you don't have a bunch of glue on the bottom of the rod. Slide the rest of them down from the top. And don't put a real thick coat, put a light coat on there. It's going to be good enough. A little bit of run out, not much. Earlier I reamed out the cork rings in the reel seat arbor to fit this little rod. I use the 5-minute epoxy on little projects because I can move ahead in about 15 minutes for my next step. But if I have a long grip, maybe 20 cork rings, I go ahead and use the slower Rod Builders epoxy glue. Give that cork a little spin. That kind of spreads that glue and runs it into every little crack. It probably take me a couple of minutes to glue these cork rings on and glue that reel seat arbor into that reel seat. So I've got plenty of time. You want to put that cork ring clamp on real straight, not too much pressure. Now just rip off that top page of that glossy catalog and throw it away, and you've got a nice clean surface for mixing up your next batch. Okay, it's been about 15 or 20 minutes since we glued that reel seat arbor into that reel seat and the rear grip on that little ultralight handle. We can move ahead to the next step. In this step, I want to use the Rod Builders glue, so that gives me plenty of time to get my reel seat glued into place and the rear grip glued on and get it cleaned up. The Rod Builders glue has about a 20-minute pot life or working time, and it'll completely set up in about 2 hours. Mix it up the same way you did the 5-minute epoxy, 2 pools side by side, equal in diameter, maybe just a little bit bigger than a quarter for this project. Put a little glue onto that rod blank so you can slide that reel seat into place. And when you slide that reel seat down, kind of move it back and spin it around, spread that glue out a little bit. And if you remember, I countersunk that arbor into that reel seat about an 1/8 inch. That will catch some of that glue. And I like a little bit of that glue to ooze out because it just shows me that it's glued really good. On a little short spinning rod handle, I like to put my threads forward on my reel seat, because if you put the threads to the back, you wouldn't have much of a rear grip. On a longer spinning rod handle, I put my threads to the back. Now I want to put this little grip in my cork ring clamp and clamp it up. Get it nice and straight. After you get it clamped up good, I'll probably take it outside and clean up that reel seat a little bit more with a little alcohol and paper towel and maybe a brush. Okay, we got our little spinning rod handle glued up. The advantage to the 5-minute epoxy is that in about 15 minutes, you can move on to the next step. And the advantage to the Rod Builders glue is you got about a 20-minute pot life. It takes 2 hours for it to set up, but you got plenty of time to glue your handle together and clean it up. So you got to decide with your project how much time it's going to take you to finish your project, and decide which glue you want to go with. This little handle looks great. I'm ready to turn it down on the car clay.